What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? Tonight we are going to be discussing this pagan druid guy who is going to be basically shaming atheists for high suicide rates, or rather them just committing suicide in general.
And then the last words they say is they're blowing their brains out or hanging themselves as God forgive me. I can guarantee you they all do it. They scream God in their last hours.
So we are here to respond to this guy, and I hope that you'll stick with me throughout the broadcast for that. Alright, so next video is the druid. This guy right here, which I want to say we've actually had on the show before, but I don't know. I may not have. He just looks a little familiar. I'm not sure. But anyways, so he decided to record this some fucking way. I don't know. It's like in this weird kind of aspect ratio, but he does it anyways. So let's go ahead. Let's figure out what this guy has to say. He's going to shame atheists for high suicide rates, which we're going to get to about how that's not even a real fact. It's fake news.
Atheism and suicide. Very difficult subject. The papers call it suicide.
I like how instead of like getting actual music, he decides to sing it himself, which, I mean, I can't really fault him for. Go fuck yourself, pagan druid guy. Again, this is not to shit on all pagan druid whatever the fuck. I'm not shitting. I'm just shitting on what this guy is saying, and I'm shitting on what he has to say about atheists and suicide rates. I would never venture to say that, like, you know, pagans have high suicide rates because they don't have any meaning in their life or some shit, regardless of whether that's true. I wouldn't say that. So let's see what this guy has to say. He's got a couple jokes that one I don't get, and then the other one just is bad taste, in my opinion.
A bullet from a 45. Nobody cared, nobody cried. Don't
Stick to just making shitty YouTube videos. Please don't start a singing career. People do say it to me. I also would never. I mean, I'm just giving him the same information that I got. I'm not going to start a singing career, but you know, he's keeping on going.
I'd make you feel bad. Anyway,
at least I have a ukulele.
Two quick jokes before we commence this serious discourse here. Why do witches not wear knickers? So they can get a better grip of their broomsticks.
Yeah, it's a bad taste joke, but he kind of looks like he lives in the rural area where no women exist.
Why do people in Ballymun keep pigeons? So they can teach their children how to walk.
So this must be a kind of a localized joke because I don't get it. I don't understand what that means, but I'm sure the people that live in his particular farmland understand.
Yeah, it's very true. There are very true and very sad. There are high rates of suicide among atheists. The stats are in. It's overwhelming.
It actually isn't overwhelming. In preparation for tonight's stream, I tried to find statistics. KC tried to find statistics, and then I also helped out right there at the tail end of it. And the only thing that we could find to really say that there's a high correlation between atheism and suicide is a 2004 scientific article. It was from the American Journal of Psychiatry. And the problem with it was that it had a very small pool of individuals that it pulled from. It was like around 371. And they were all already admitted to psychological institutions for mental illnesses. I mean, you've already got a high chance for them to be, you know, in this situation to commit suicide. So it wasn't a very good bit of research as far as religious affiliation goes. And everything that I've found online has used that particular article as a source. And then others have called it out, like Lauren from Hemmet Meta's blog, Friendly Atheist. She she talked about how nuanced the subject is, because, and I want to stress this before going into the video, because, you know, he's of course going to get into the whole, as some people have already pointed out, atheism equaling nihilism thing. It's just not true. There's so many factors that go into what brings a person to the point of committing suicide. Me speaking as someone who has been diagnosed with clinical depression in the past and who has been on medication for depression, I can tell you that it had nothing at all whatsoever to do with my atheism, that I was feeling like that. It was several other factors that came into that. Atheism was just not on the list. Now, of course, that's an anecdotal story, and I don't expect you to take that. But if you just look at actual suicide rate information, like studies and whatnot across multiple countries and even in our own country, you will see that there's no real correlation between religious affiliation and suicide rates. Now, if there happens to be a high correlation, for whatever reason, most atheists are going to be ostracized by their family, friends, and whatnot. It's becoming less and less of a problem now. More and more people are becoming accepting of the atheist community, and I think that's awesome. But also, those that get ostracized, those that get left alone, are often left with nobody to really notice the problems that when they arise, that to notice, you know, when the depression is hitting hard, and to show them that, you know, they matter to this world. And plenty of Christians feel that way too. I know myself, when I was a Christian, I really wanted to die at one point. I didn't do it when I was a teenager because I felt that, you know, committing suicide was a sin and I'd go to hell. I think that there's a lot of guilt that goes with, you know, the stigma of suicide. That could also influence the suicide rates, like family members not reporting it as a suicide, maybe reporting it as an accident or something like that. Those could be influenced by that stigma of it. So it's a lot more nuanced than this guy's going to make it out to be, and I just really wanted to bring that up right here at the beginning of the video. And if you are feeling depressed or suffering from depression, definitely call the suicide prevention hotline, talk to a friend, talk to somebody that you know that cares about you and whatnot, open up to somebody. I just really don't want you to think that, you know, you don't matter in this world, because you do. I mean, I've been in your place before, so I should know. But let's continue with the video.
Some atheists refuse to believe it's true, but other atheists have said, look, there's a huge problem here. Now, before we discuss what's possibly causing this suicide, terrible suicide rates among atheists, the first thing we have to deal with is there's two types of atheists. There's people who say they're atheists, but they're not really. They're not. It's kind of fashionable to be an atheist now among, like, normies.
Okay, first of all, you committed a no true Scotsman fallacy here by saying that somebody isn't an atheist. And I mean, I guess I've kind of fallen into that trap before, you know, when dealing with these conversion stories and whatnot. But even then, I've been trying to give more and more credence to somebody when they say, oh yeah, I definitely was an atheist. Although I really don't think Lee Strobel was an atheist. I'm seriously doubting that, but that's just because he's put his story out there so much, and he has a lot of things that I feel like don't really line up with him talking about his atheism. But I would say that saying somebody wasn't an atheist when they are an atheist or were an atheist is a little disingenuous, and it's playing the whole no true Scotsman fallacy. It's
kind of like people who watch Brian Cox or that obnoxious Dara O'Brien arsehole, and the classic BBC RT mediocrity incarnate. And so they think they have to be, oh, it's the magic of the universe. Science is so wonderful, and I'm an atheist. This kind of thing.
There are plenty of religious people in general that are fans of science, that love science, that love science communicators, that are fans of science communicators. So I think that saying that, just, you know, pigeonholing us, if you will, into this caricature that you painted, you know, building a straw man is not exactly the right way to go about this, because it just shows how much you really don't know, and the fact that you've got to make shit up in order to actually have an argument against anything.
What's the suicide rates about? Well, the ones who really are vehement about their atheism, it takes a hell of a lot of fucking work to maintain that.
It literally takes no work at all for me to maintain my atheism. I flipped that fucking switch, and however long it took me to flip that switch, I mean, I can't just simply go back. That shit's locked into place, okay? It's just ridiculous to say that it takes a lot of work to maintain atheism. If you really are struggling with it, then that's fine. I just would caution people to make that decision to declare themselves an atheist until they are sure. It's okay for you to label yourself as a pure agnostic. I've come to terms with people using that as a popular term, even if I disagree with you using that term. If you don't actively believe in a God or actively believe in a supernatural being or force or something, then you will be labeled as an atheist in general. But I'm not here to put labels on any of you or anybody out there. But I would say that before you declare yourself an atheist, I would make sure that you know what you're talking about and know what you're saying. That's why my son, I try to keep him, away from the religious discussion and religious debate. And sometimes that's really hard because I live in the fucking South and the schools here don't have any kind of concept of the separation of church and fucking state.
Now, the atheist excuse for why there's high rates of suicide among me fucking hair, lesbian haircut, I'm losing my hair. The high suicide rates among atheists are, they say they'll tell you, the atheists themselves, that it's to do with, well, we live in a Christian society, it's impossible to, we're under constant pressure to conform, and look, that's not even what the what the problem is. The problem is that many atheists are ostracized by their friends and family. They don't have a support network to help them when they need it the most. That is what causes the problems that eventually lead to suicide. But it's never like, atheism is never the direct issue with somebody that commits suicide or that develops depression or anything like that. There are several factors that go into it, and what you're talking about here is the loss of that support group. And atheists don't have these massive groups that you can really go to and get that support group back when your family disowns you and throws you out and doesn't want to have anything to do with you. Just look at Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons and everything. Those groups will actually disown you and throw you out of their lives, and you are left with nothing as far as like a support group goes. But they will leave you high and dry. So I don't want to hear about how you think that it's, there's so many Christians out here and it's so much pressure to work with all these Christians. It's like, that's not even the fucking issue. I'm a pagan. I'm a fucking Antichrist, in fact. And I go to christenings and weddings and I make fun of the priest. I call him a paedophile and a satanic woman. And I think the whole thing is a fucking joke, and I have a...
Do you not have a fucking house you can go into and set this shit up on like a shelf or something? Why do you gotta be outside on a windy day? Does the farm not have an enclosed space?
Laugh. It's these atheists that go, I'm godless, I'm a theist, I refuse it. And, they make a big deal out of it. They're like the vegans that way. And what happens is...
Okay, most of the time, I would say that atheists are reactionary. We react to religious intrusion into our lives. Like, we're either on Facebook and somebody throws out some kind of stupid fucking religious statement or whatnot, and we respond to it. Then there are, of course, debate groups where people get into, and they love to have those kind of discussions. Of course, there are plenty of assholes in the atheist community in general, but I would say that most people aren't just, getting on there as like, all right, motherfuckers, I'm glad y'all are here. I'm an atheist. I'm never going to stop fucking talking about it. Like, I know that I run like an atheist channel and Facebook page and stuff like that, but I do it to help build that network, that community, that support network that people need when they're feeling down on themselves or feeling like they're having a bad day. And then, they hit Facebook and either it's filled with all this Christian nonsense or religious nonsense in general, and then you see my fucking page come up in your feed and it's like, oh yeah, fuck Jesus up there on the cross or something. Like, I don't have any kind of lowbrow shit like that comes across, but I do post funny images or relatable articles or something that people can really comment and relate on. I just feel like it helps build that community, and that's why I do it, is to build the community. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but it is in no way a representation of reality.
The cunts, poor cunts, they eventually go mad, and because they're not happy. You see, you can be these things and happy. Now, I'm going to get a lot of fucking atheists, and they're all the fucking same.
I know I'm going to get a lot of atheists, and they're all the fucking, all fucking the same. And they're all miserable because they are atheists. I'm sure you've been miserable in your life. So I don't think that you really want to throw that on us, because then it's like, well, were you an atheist at that time? Just kind of feels like you're just pulling shit out of your ass as to why atheists kill themselves. And I would say that the reasons why atheists kill themselves is no different than other people. It's just in general, across the board, the reasons why people kill themselves or get into that state where they commit suicide. It's not like universal single issues, but there's just a whole collective pool of things that accumulate over time and get a person to that point.
Most, not all the same. They're typical. They'll come on here and they'll start calling me a Christian. This is what's weird about it. They're so programmed. They think that any kind of person who has a sort of a criticism of atheism is automatically a Christian, and I'm a fucking Antichrist. So, I mean, that's just bizarre to begin with.
I think Antichrist in this context means something different, but every time I think of him as the Antichrist, I'm just like, this is the guy that's supposed to bring about the end of the world? He needs to get off that farm and start ruling shit, I guess.
And anyway, that's why Satanism is a good kind of like halfway point for atheists.
Okay, first of all, a lot of Satanists are already atheists. You could think of Satanism as breaking down into two different ways. There's supernatural kind of Satanism, and then there's the more secular kind of Satanism. I'm not here to tell Satanists to identify as an atheist, but even if you ask, a Satanist, they will say the atheistic Satanists, if you will, do exist. So I don't see that as a good halfway point. I just feel like that's just one worldview that you could adopt. That's not a traditional religious one. Or you could go full on crazy and become an actual Satanist. And I'm not exactly sure what that entails, but from what I've seen out of the Satanist, it seems a whole lot better than like the Christian book.
But that's what it is, and it's not that really. That's what they say it is, but it's not that really. What it really is that a spiritual identity among us is just part of our human condition. To deny it is to deny that. It's similar to denying our psychology on so many levels. I'm saying we don't have an unconscious. Now,
So basically, spirituality is innate to us as humans. And so to deny that spirituality, it causes us to become depressed, and that causes us to kill ourselves. For one thing, I don't think that spirituality is innate to anybody. There are plenty of people out there that are just fine with no spirituality. There are some atheists that find spirituality in the world. Me personally, I don't have a lot of spirituality, if any at all. But I mean, I don't find that I need that spirituality in order to be happy. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm a nihilist or anything like you seem to equate here. But what it does mean is that people are fucking different and people need different things. And I'm not going to sit here and shit on somebody for needing that spirituality in their life. But at the same time, I feel like the spirituality doesn't exactly click with reality. But that's my view of it. Spirituality doesn't make sense when you consider actual reality. That's my view on the entire subject. This guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
These materialistic atheists and these extreme reductionists don't even believe we're alive. They just believe we're pieces of meat. Remember that ladies never marry one of these motherfuckers.
Wait, we don't think that we're alive? Honey, he said that we don't think that we're alive. Yeah, I don't know what he thinks it means to be alive, but I mean, as long as I have a heartbeat and I'm not brain dead, I'm fucking alive. And I mean, even the brain dead part, there's a little bit of a disagreement on, I guess, but...
Fuckers, because they don't love you. They believe any feelings they have for you are just chemical imbalances that are caused by nature for evolutionary purposes. They'll never marry them. That's another reason they'll commit suicide, because they're going, human feelings are totally to do with chemicals. They're totally to do with neurochemicals. They're not real. They're evolutionary impulses. No one loves them, or the people who are with them leave them.
realizing that our emotions and things that we experience and all of that are just chemical reactions in no way means that we, are these nihilistic emo fucks. Okay? I don't even know why you would say that, but it's just simply not fucking true.
And then the last words they say is they're blowing their brains out or hanging themselves as God forgive me. I can guarantee you, they all do it.
Oh, yes. Go fuck yourself, okay? I'm sorry. I've tried to be amenable throughout this entire situation because you're probably ignorant as shit. But go fuck yourself. As we're blowing our brains out or hanging, we say, God forgive me? Jesus Christ. This is some fucked up shit right here. Don't ever give ignorant pieces of shit like this any kind of time in your life.
Scream God in their last hours. And that's because they're living a lie. Look.
Oh, we're living a lie, honey. We're the ones living a lie. The guy, no offense to any pagans or druids out there that are watching, but you believe in supernatural anything, and we're the ones living a lie? Like, I'm not going to say that that's a lie, but it also doesn't comport with what we experience in reality. And, I mean, you just getting on camera and pulling shit out of your ass and everything like that doesn't make you correct. We don't live with a lie. Like, we don't believe in a lie. We left that shit behind, okay?
You don't have to be religious to have a spiritual identity. You can be a pagan like me and express it through natural cycles of the universe. I do think that atheism is the... this is like a fucking helmet, the way the sun's at me here. I do like the way atheism is the way it should be used for things like government. There should always be secular governments. There should never be any kind of religious governments. And I think...
So, wait a second. You're fine with secular governments. You're just saying, oh, the atheists have nothing to live for, so fuck them. Okay, I get it. Well, you know what? Atheists are the ones that are fighting for separation of church and state, especially in America, and I'm fairly certain in other places. There are also religious people that fight for it too, but at least here in America, it's more the religious people that are wanting to push their religion and stifle out like all of the other like worldviews, and including like Islam, Buddhism, atheism, and all that. Which atheism isn't a worldview, but I mean they characterize shit as atheists when it's really just secular.
I think that's the problem with atheists and suicide. Look, if you're an atheist or you think you're an atheist, just deal with it like I deal with a pagan. I don't give a fuck about. And also,
okay, well, that's easy to say for you, somebody that, for all I know, doesn't suffer from a mental illness like clinical depression or anything like that. I mean, obviously, I feel like you're crazy as shit, but I don't know if it's clinical in any kind of way just yet. But it's easy for you to say, just deal with it like a fucking man. Just tug on your nuts and just get the fuck over it. A lot of people can't just simply do that. If you would take even a monicum of a smallest bit of time to go and actually look this shit up, look at what people that suffer from clinical depression go through and their struggles and everything like that. If you just took a second to look all that shit up, you would understand that it's not as simple as that. So go fuck yourself.
So unless you live in the Bible Belt of America, religion is not, or in Islamic countries, same thing by the way.
All right, I mean, they do branch off of the same, like, core religion being Judaism, but, I mean, the Islamic God, is kind of shared with Christianity, but they are definitely two distinct religions. They're not the same religion. I feel like that little bit of nuance needs to be said here.
You don't have to worry about fucking religion. I live in Ireland, I don't give a fuck. I tell people, and most people I say, go to fucking church. I say, I don't fucking blame you. They're a bunch of fucking pedos and scumbags. That's how it goes. And you can be the same way too. You just laugh at the fucking cunts, and that's the way you have to do it. So if you're an atheist, chill the fuck out, and instead of trying to constantly fight to prove to the world what an atheist you are, just say, I don't into that shit. I don't believe it. That's the end of it. That's what most Irish people are like. I don't believe that shit. They don't.
Okay, so your advice is to just stop talking about being an atheist, stop fighting for principles that are important to you, stop being an active voice in the community, stop fighting for what you feel is right, and just accept shit as it comes. That's your answer for the atheist community? Because I can guarantee you a lot of the things that people are fighting against in the atheist community are the exact reasons why they even have clinical fucking depression.
I'm an atheist. I am not a theist. That's just a stupid way. That's like being in a cult.
Okay, Mr. Jeward Pagan Man. We're not a cult. And I don't even know why you tried to disappear like Batman right here. I can still see your jacket. Oh look, honey, it's the cocksucking bob and weave. Sure to get down on that druid dick, isn't he? There he goes. Oh fuck. And that's it.
I have you.